The New Forest. Tucked away on the south coast, covered in ancient woodland, and teeming with life. On visiting this corner of the country, however, you're likely to come across some slightly unusual residents. The Ponies of the New Forest. At first glance, they may look fairly inactive, even lazy. But these ponies have roamed the New Forest for over 2,000 years and have played an enormous role in shaping the landscape here. Not fussy about what they eat, they munch on saplings and small shrubs. They even take on the spiky gorse that litters the landscape. This allows streams and rivers to carve their way through the ground that would have otherwise been tightly bound with roots. These waterways act as veins for the New Forest. They transport nutrients and feed into areas of wet grassland and bog. Ideal habitat for many insects, such as the broad-bodied chaser dragonfly, or the much rarer southern damselfly. The wetlands created here are ideal habitat for this rarity, and at just 1 to 2 centimetres long, they've even been known to lay eggs in the hoofprints of ponies. The New Forest is now one of the last strongholds for this extremely delicate species. Another species with a stronghold in the New Forest is the lapwing. Since 1960, lapwing numbers in England and Wales have dropped by about 80%. In the New Forest, however, the ponies have helped to create the ideal habitat for lapwing. Short, wet grassland creates an ideal place for lapwing to nest, feed, and rear their young. Tucked away on the edges of bogs, sundew thrives. Unable to survive off the few nutrients provided by the acidic bog in which it lives, this tiny plant has evolved to become carnivorous, catching small insects in its sticky tendrils and using enzymes to devour them. The ponies' long mouths and front-facing teeth don't just make them good at picking at shrubs and grooming each other. It also makes them expert grass eaters. By chopping some areas of grass extremely short on rotation, they've created large areas of grassland. Around 50% of the grassland in the UK has been lost since the intensification of agriculture, making the grassland in the New Forest a rare commodity and home to lots of ground-nesting species, such as this meadow pipit, a declining species in the UK. They are also home to skylarks, a species once common in the UK, and a familiar sound of spring and summer. Since the 1960s, however, they have declined by around 70%, making the New Forest grasslands all the more important. Every autumn, the ponies are joined by a gang of pigs, deployed to feed on dropped acorns, which can be poisonous to the ponies. They root for food in the earth and create small patches of bare ground. This can help to activate dormant seeds stored under the soil's surface. The bare patches also allow surrounding plants to creep into them by releasing them from the competition for space. This combination of grazed and ungrazed areas creates a diverse patchwork of habitats. The ponies and pigs aren't the only ones to thank for this tapestry of biodiversity, however. The New Forest is home to natural grazers too. Around 150 red deer, around 500 roe deer, and well over 1,000 fallow deer are present in the New Forest, and they all play a large part in removing shrubs and maintaining the grasslands. Combine these numbers though with the 5,000 resident ponies, around 3,000 cattle, and a handful of donkeys that also graze the New Forest, and it should come as no surprise that the number of livestock on the New Forest is starting to put pressure on its fragile ecosystems. Many areas are becoming overgrazed. Once eaten, many flowers are unable to regrow before being eaten again. And the grasslands also have little time to regenerate. With such high numbers of heavy animals now roaming the New Forest, much of the ground is heavily compacted, leading to increased runoff, as now the ground cannot absorb enough water. Bog edges are also being churned up by hooves, damaging some of the delicate plant species that thrive here. With so many ponies now competing for food, many have resorted to eating the bark off some of the oldest holly and beech trees in the New Forest's ancient woodland, to a point at which they are being seriously damaged. The ponies of the New Forest, along with all other grazing animals, have been instrumental in creating one of the most diverse and species-rich areas of the UK. But their numbers must be reduced and regulated better in order to preserve some of the UK's most fascinating and fragile species, and to maintain the glorious collage of habitats here in the New Forest.